Well, lads, this is James. Just adding this in here post episode recording. After listening back, there was a little issue with internet connection. So if you do hear at times where just before Shane finishes a sentence, I begin speaking, that's just down to the uploading of the recordings. There's nothing we can do. It's very slight. It won't make much of a difference to your listening, but just throwing that in there. So enjoy the episode. All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Myself and Shane here once again. Michael, of course, joins us for the NBA section as he does every couple of weeks. But Shane, what is the crack?
Not a whole lot, just living the dream. Down by the beach again for a couple of weeks now. So my my first of all, I look like I'm doing one of those videos where you're asking your family for money for a ransom with the way the light is shining on my face. But I think we'll get over it for a couple of weeks and I'll get back to normal when I'm back in Limerick. How
Yeah,
about
yeah, all
yourself?
good with me. I saw when you first jumped onto the call, there was like a bit of sunshine on you, and I was like, here, like, where's this fella right now? Down in Lahinch by the sea, like, and there's actually sun as well to make it even better. Like, it's been nothing but dull in Dublin for the last like month. There was two little small bits of sunshine on two different days, but it's just like today was just nothing but grey. But we did mention last week we were like a bit nervous going into Ireland against Italy, and they somehow luckily got a win, just barely.
Yeah.
And now they're playing England on Saturday, and I would have been really worried about this only for England lost to Scotland, and it kind of a bit of a blueprint about how you could beat them there. But I'm still thinking Ireland are probably going to lose, but I'm more hopeful than I would have been if the results last
Yeah.
week didn't go the way they did. How are you feeling going into it?
I thought Scotland were exceptional against England, which made me worry for the Scotland game when we have to play them as well, because Ireland's don't look really good at the moment. The style of play, if you want to call it a style, is just there is none. There's nothing. It's all about just get the ball out, get it through Prendergast, and he's really struggling as well. And there's been an upset about him this week. I'm not going to go into him anymore because I think there's other players who have been at fault as well. The scrum looks diabolical, but then Keller comes on and can't throw a line out. So his scrum might be better, but he can't throw a line out. So they can't put the two of them on the pitch. So I don't know what we're going to do. I think England could be it could be messy if Ireland don't start well. They're going to be on the bounce back because they hate losing to Scotland, they hate losing to Ireland more. They're not going to want to go out and back to back losing those two. So I think it could be messy, but hopefully they can come away with something. But I don't see
Yeah,
it,
yeah, it's going to
unfortunately.
be tough. Very, very tough, especially in the scrum, as you mentioned. I think that was a great point. That's what something I said during the game. Move Kelleher in, and you sacrifice the line out. He's supposed to help in the scrum, but we still got dominated in the scrum. So Sheehan can't come off for me as early as he did. But we're decimated by injuries. Look, so it's a difficult one. I hope to see both Crowley and Gibson Park starting in this game because I think it's a much better pairing.
Yeah.
And I would like to see Harry Byrne get a look in as well, a kicker at some stage as well. Just playing fly half, maybe he's not up there with the things that Prendergast could do or the things that Crowley does do at times when he's in a flow. But his kicking is very, very good, especially out of his hands, which Crowley seems to struggle with a little bit at times. And Prendergast kicking off the tee is awful.
We're going to
So
need,
we need a good kicker.
yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Fingers crossed we get the win against England. That would be a very nice start to Saturday. But a massive episode again. So much stuff covered. It's nice to kind of throw out some different topics now in the NFL because there's no games to focus on, so we can chat about a range of things, and that'll continue into the off season. But first, we did start with football. We talked about who would be the best January signing, who has made the best impact so far in the January transfer window. And we gave our picks there, and then we gave a preview of the Spurs and Arsenal game, Igor Tudor's first game in charge. We gave a prediction for that game too, who we think is going to win and the score. Then we did move into the NFL. We looked at the best head coaching hire of the recent cycle of 10 new head coaches. We both identified who we thought was the best, and we chatted about some of the others as well. Be interesting to see how that pans out in the new season. Then Michael joined after the NFL. We did have Gan Seans as usual before Michael joined, but Michael jumped on then for the NBA section. We chatted about All Star Weekend, a bit of a recap there, some of the best moments, things that could change. The KD Twitter burner leak. Apologies to you on that one, Shane. Might not be good for the Rockets. then the Jazz and the Wizards tanking debacle and what can be done about tanking in general in the NBA. And then we wrapped up with the power rankings at the end. So plenty to get your teeth into. Let's jump straight into the episode. Okay, so jumping into football, we want to take a quick look back at some of the January signings. So there wasn't too many, but we want to look at who has made the biggest impact so far, and I guess what can carry over as an impact into the rest of the season. So, we've both made a pick each. Throw it to you first, Shane, since you posed this question in the group. What do you think is the biggest impact sign in January?
So there was three that kind of jumped out to me straight away. There was one from West Ham, your man Tati, who's gone in up front for them. I think, well, he hasn't gotten a ton of goals. I think he's made a really, really positive impact on them, and you can tell by their form. But the two from Man City, Gueye and Semenyo, have just been a breath of fresh air to him. And I want to focus on Gueye, mostly because this is what Liverpool could be having if they had just pulled the finger out in the summer and they just stumped up the money before deadline day. They'd have him in their back line now, making the difference he's making at City. I think I've watched nearly all of City's games since he's gone in there. And the difference he's making is it's insane, I think, what he's doing. He's been an absolute rocket back from. He was playing beside Kushinov there for a lot of it before Diaz was back, and he was leading him through games, guiding him on. The amount of blocks he makes, I couldn't actually find the number of blocks he's made for Man City, but his blocks across the season is 17. And it looks like he's made 14 of them since he went over to Man City in January. So he's just in front of every single shot. City look so much stronger at the back with him in there now. They look a lot more of a challenge to Arsenal than they did the start of December. And then Semenyo up front as well is firing in goals, 3 and 5 league games as well. So the main one for me is Mark Way, but if you want to touch on the other two as well, then I'm happy to hear them because I think the three of them have made such a difference to the clubs they've gone to. Um, West Ham don't get enough credit for what they're doing at the moment. They've pulled Forest right back into trouble again, and I think Tati and the other lad they've signed, the other striker as well, the lads who we were laughing, they were a carbon copy of the two of each other when the picture went up on Fabrizio Romano, and when they're out in the pitch, they're both playing the exact same, but
Yeah,
Tati
it's
just
funny
looks
that
like an
you had
absolute monster up front from.
the Gahey as your number one because I had him as well, but I had a backup option who I'll focus on. But just to add to the Gahey chat, like I think his passing is so important to the team. Like the way that he's able to play out the back. I said in the
Oh,
last episode that he's
unreal.
almost like their new John Stones. I know Stones is still knocking around, but like he's the modern version of that for them, and he fits perfectly into the team. He's learned the system like so well, so quickly. So yeah, I agree with that as probably being the biggest impact. Only 23 million euro as well, obviously because his contract was running out. But like, I think that could be the thing that drives City on to possibly win the title this year or at least get close to it. So that impact alone is massive. On my short or my long list almost, I had Tati as well, just because of the form that they're in. I think he gives them something different, and he's like a dog up front. He fights so hard. He gets into tackles. Semenyo, of course,
Yeah.
we all know about him. Strand Larson is an interesting one. There's not enough we've seen yet, but he did score 2 goals in his last game, but Palace fell apart in that. So maybe not the
They
overall
lost.
impact on winning,
Yeah.
but I think yeah, he will come good again. But the guy I'll focus on now is Ryan for Bournemouth. What a signing he looks to be. Bournemouth just continue to pull
Mm.
these out. Like we talked, he had just got signed when we had Harry Bailey on a few weeks ago to talk about Bournemouth, and we're saying like surely they can't do it again where it's just another guy that comes out of the woodwork that they've signed and is unbelievably good. Like Semenyo is the elite of the elite, but we've seen so many others as well. Like Dango Atara looks great at Brentford. They've signed Krupi, who looks brilliant. So now they've got Krupi and they've got Ryan to go with him. 28.5 million from Vasco da Gama. I think he just looks exceptionally good. He doesn't look like a 19-year-old. He's physically built so well. He's so strong. He's able to win a header. He could play off the right. He could play up front. 2 starts so far, 2 goals, a goal in each game. In the sub appearance he made in his first game, he got the assist. Like he's contributed in every game so far. He's not obviously up to Semenyo's level, but to me, there doesn't look like any reason why he can't be the next Semenyo for this team. Perhaps a different player doesn't play off both
Hmm.
feet as well as Semenyo does. Maybe doesn't get in with his dribbling as well as Semenyo does in that way where he's kind of shifty, but he's powerful and he looks like a guy who's actually built perfectly for the Premier League already at such a young age. So yeah, Bournemouth have just done it again, and I think he's definitely my second choice after Gahey, and I'll bump him up to first for the fact of this one since you had Gahey in there.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. But one thing I would add to what you're saying about him becoming the next menu is yes. So he's not as good off both feet, yes. He's not as powerful at dribbling yet. As you said at the top, he's only 19. That goal he scored against Everton, although Luca Dean did completely forget where he was, if he kind of forgot he was even on a football pitch, he still breezed past three or four Villa players before he even got to Luca Dean and then just breezed past him and stuck it in the corner. And then he scored a header in the next game. His assist in his first game was brilliant as well. He's just another one, as you said, the next cab off the rank for Bournemouth that is just going to go on and make him 70 or 80 million in 2 or 3 years' time because he looks every bit a Premier League player. And he's coming from Brazil, and like there's a lot of times the lads come from Brazil. Okay, yes, I was hit the ground running as well, but Luis Guilherme never hit the ground running at West Ham, and he was one of the shining lights as well. So it's not like what he's doing is easy. Like that Brazil league you're coming from is not half as physical. It's far more skillful, and he's come in here and he's bulked up. He's a tall lad. He's well able to do everything, as you said, and he's making an impact. And Bournemouth are just not missing a beat with Semenyo gone, which is the strangest thing to see of all of
Yeah,
it.
it is mad to see that happening, and the fact that he's impacting results as well. Like they beat Wolves, drew at Villa, they beat Everton. Like it's not just coming in and doing well, but the team doesn't improve. They've actually looked very strong with him in there, so a really good signing. We want to shift to this weekend's football now. We're recording this on Wednesday this week, so we don't know the result as of yet in the Arsenal and Wolves game. We'll assume that Arsenal got the win,
It was a one-all draw,
or we can take it as that. We can take it as
one-all
that
draw.
either. I wouldn't be surprised to see it the way Arsenal have gone down the years, but we've got Spurs hosting Arsenal this Sunday. It's Igor Tudor's first game in charge at Spurs. It's hard to know what to expect. I don't know a whole lot about the guy. If you look at his background, the longest time he was in charge of a team was at Split back in 2013, where he was there for from 2013 to 2015. Every other one has been within the year or into the next year that he got fired or walked away from the team. All reporting from those who know a lot about him is that he's quite volatile. He can rub people up the wrong way, but that he plays a kind of very open style of football. So, as an interim manager, I think it might work out because Spurs fans have been complaining about the way Frank played, and now they're going to go back to kind of more open play. But with the injuries they have, I don't know how much of that they can actually do. And to start off against Arsenal might instantly make this a bad omen for him. Like he might be all fire on the sideline and then on the pitch there's nothing to go with it. So I'd be an interesting one to watch him and see how he handles his first game in the Premier League.
Yeah, the funny thing about disappointment is it's so Spurs because your man Paradisi, who was in there, he wanted Igor Tudor in the summer. And the club said, no, we're getting Thomas Frank. He was so against the appointment of Thomas Frank, so he quit. They brought in Frank. They've now Frank has been sacked. He's gone, and they brought in the man he wanted in the first place. So if they just done this in the summer, he'd still be there. Now maybe Tudor would be out of a job now as well, with the way Spurs have been going. But it's just so Spurs that there's so many people kind of fell out over the signing of Frank because they wanted this fella, and now this fella has eventually shown up. I I fancy Spurs in this. And this isn't just down to my hatred of Arsenal. I just think Arsenal are coming off the back of a midweek game after playing a weekend game and a midweek game last week. So it's a long run of games for Arsenal now coming off Brentford. Tough game with Brentford. Okay, they had a very handy cup game against Wigan. Now this is their third game in 7 days, I think. I think it was this day last week they played Brentford as well, or maybe it was Thursday last week. So it's like it's 3 games in 7 days. Going into a derby, new manager bounce, all the hits. I could see Spurs turning over here and coming out with a 2-1 win. Xavi Simons to finally play a game of football where he looks like what everyone thinks he is and get man of the match. Yeah, they're going to have a tough one-all draw with Wolves tonight at Molineux, and they're going to go into Spurs and lose 2-1.
So you're laying it all on the table that Arsenal drop points in both games. that would be mad if they do that. I To be honest, I wouldn't be overly surprised because I have said multiple times that Arsenal are a team that have done this over the years, and everything points towards that. Somehow the gap is only four to City now. After that Brentford game, which Arsenal didn't even deserve a point from that. Brentford and Thiago missed so many chances. So they've
Mm.
been stumbling a little bit lately. I think Spurs fans will definitely get behind the team because it is at home. But I think that Spurs, while they do have a goal in them with Solanke being back, I think that it will be quite difficult to get a win here because Arsenal have been great against Spurs recently. The last time Spurs beat them was in 2022. So that's been 8 games ago. And of the seven in between,
Yeah.
Arsenal have won six of them. So it's not been great for Spurs recently against Arsenal. I think if they do play open football, that will suit Arsenal to make this a little bit easier than if they did play maybe against Frank. His tactics might have actually worked like the way they played against the City in that second half. But I don't know. I can't really see Spurs getting a win. I think that they will get a goal, but I think Arsenal get the win 2-1 and just about scrape it here.
Yeah, fair enough. We're both gone 2-1 either way, so get prepared for a 4-all draw here because neither of us are ever right when it comes to our Premier League predictions. And it's not very often we go completely against each other,
Yeah,
so it's
without a
definitely
doubt,
going to
it's
be a
going to
draw.
be like a 6-6 draw. Never mind 4-4. The lower scoring we go, the higher it's going to actually be.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's it for the Premier League chat. We'll move
yeah.
into the NFL side of things. So it was an absolute flurry of action like over the last few weeks because of the playoffs and everything that went on. Kind of in the build up, everyone was focused in on the Patriots and the Seahawks. But we had a flurry of head coaching hires over the last month or so, and there was a massive 10 spots filled across the league, which is it's a crazy number to think about that many coaches getting the sack or walking away. And then you've got 10 more guys coming in ready to prove their worth either for the first time or coming back and trying to prove it again after not working out somewhere else. So we want to look at who do you think is the best head coaching hire so far this not so far but at all this off season. So which team has done the best with their head coaching search and which team has done the best for their future, not just for the season to come but in the long term.
I'll let you go first because you're going to pick John Harbaugh. So I have him as well on my list. I'm just thinking there now, there was no need for me to put him on my list because I knew you were going to talk about him. So I'll go and look for another one in my top three while you start talking about John Harbaugh there. I'll have a look and
Harbaugh
see who's
is
going to replace
actually
him on
my
my list.
second on the list. I've got someone else at the top.
Oh,
Now, while I do have some thoughts on Harbaugh that we might come back to, I think the best hire of all is Jesse Minter for the Ravens. I think that hire, yeah, I
he's
think
my
that
top as
that
well.
pick is absolutely unbelievable. So maybe we'll go in on him
Yeah.
first, and then we'll talk about Harbaugh because I think that could be the one too for both of us. But look, the pedigree he has. He was the Ravens DB coach. He went to Michigan as the DC, which was behind Jim Harbaugh, and now he's gone from there to the Chargers DC position, and now back to the Ravens as head coach after John left. So I think there's a lot of reports out there that he has a good relationship with Lamar. The Ravens definitely needed to move back to focus on their defense. It's something that's fallen apart massively recently.
Hmm.
They have so many good players there and they could probably do with reinforcements, but they needed a better or a shift in the coaching on that side of the ball. Since they lost McDonald, things have looked very, very shaky there for them. I think also making the move to Minter is quite interesting because McDonald was DB coach before Minter was in Baltimore. He was also DC in Michigan before him. So it's kind of a similar path. He's a guy that he probably he worked with at Baltimore. He's probably had plenty of discussions with him and look how good McDonald did. And then to make a smart hire like getting Declan Doyle in, he's a young guy, only 29. He worked his way up under Sean Payton and then he got the opportunity to be the OC behind Ben Johnson in Chicago. And that's a perfect person to learn from. But he wasn't the play caller because Ben Johnson is there. Now you get the opportunity to call your own plays finally at the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. So I think Minter, what he's done by getting him in and also the Ravens by going back to Minter and getting a guy in who has a good relationship with Lamar, knows defense, knows the team. I don't think there could be a better hire out there because I can see, yeah, Harbaugh might have a good impact and bring the Giants from like 3 or 4 wins to 9. This has the ability to bring the Ravens to a Super Bowl, I think. I think that this is that good of a hire.
Yeah, so like nobody wants to follow on after Fergie. Like no one wants to follow on after Harbour the same way no one wants to follow on after Fergie at United. But that's why I think this is such a good appointment. And you've made a lot of the points I was going to make. What he did with that Chargers defense in the last 2 years, despite the fact they were injury riddled every single year, he still had them up towards the top of most metrics. And like, who knows how close they were to getting to a Super Bowl this year without those injuries? He could have very easily led them the same way the new Raiders head coach has. I'm not going to try and butcher his
Yeah.
name, and I don't want to call him KK either because I could slip in the third one by accident. But he's gone in like I think this is an unbelievable hire from Baltimore. If you are going to move on from Harborough, this is the way to do it. Bring in someone who knows them, are as you said, knows the team, knows everything there is possibly to know going in there, and he could very easily bring them to a Super Bowl. I've absolutely no issue with that. I think he is going to be absolutely superb over there for him, and they have so much money spent. They've so much of their space is spent on defense that if they get in a lad who knows how to get this defense back working properly, then they'll be a match for anyone next year. And when we come around to me messing up all my picks for next year, they'll be right towards the top of my list for a Super
Yeah,
Bowl
I think
contender,
that
one hundred
they're
percent.
definitely up there. And I was on the Gaelic Gridiron podcast earlier in the week, and we said like who's going to be around there next year to win each side, to win the NFC and the AFC. And I gave my very, very early Super Bowl prediction as the Ravens and the Seahawks. That's how much I believe in what Minter is going to do there. And you said about the pieces they have, like I just think that there's no way he doesn't do a good job. Like he did a great job with the Chargers defense, but as you said, they had
Yeah,
injuries, and then they had so many injuries on offense that the offense couldn't stay on the field, and that the defense kind of got to the point where they were a bit depleted and tired. So, I think he did the best job he could have, and I really do think it's a good hire. But you did mention Harbaugh. I think he's up there as well as somebody who could do a really, really good job. I really like the coaching staff he's assembled. Some Giants fans have had questions about it, but I think getting Matt Nagy in as your offensive coordinator is a good move because he did very well with the Bears. Although people say, he wasn't great there, look at how poor they were after he left. Up until recently, obviously, now they've turned things around. But at the time, he did such a good job there with Justin Fields, and the best job anybody has done with him. He was a reason. There's a reason he was kind of one of the final options for the Titans as head coach before they went with Salah. And then to follow up from that, you not only have him, you go and get Willie Taggart as your running back coach, who has been for years at the Ravens and multiple other teams. He knows exactly how to work with Harbaugh, and he knows how to get the best out of the run game. You get Greg Roman in as an offensive assistant who's worked with the Ravens and worked at so many big teams as offensive coordinator. And then you get Brian Callahan in, who has just been a head coach with the Titans. Now that went completely badly, but he's your QB coach now. It's a completely different thing. When he was with Burrow at the Bengals, he did so well. And now you're asking him to just be a QB coach. You're not asking him to call plays or do anything like that. And to get a guy who's just been a head coach in at that level, I think that assembly of talent on the offensive side of things was absolutely perfect. And I think Harbaugh nailed it. And I think he'll bring that kind of militant attitude for this young core of Giants players that they need to fall in line. They've got a good special teams coordinator. Not sold on the DC yet, but we'll see. Harbaugh knows him. He was a DB coach at the Ravens, as was Minter and as was McDonald. So if he follows anything like them, it'll be pretty good. I just think Harbaugh is the type of guy that builds a great staff and he knows how to work with the players. So I think the Giants are going to push for playoffs this year, but maybe just end up just shy, which I would take any day because it's a huge improvement on what I've been watching recently as a fan.
yeah. I think it's one of these that almost kind of has to work out as well because they've given him a 5 year deal for 100 million. So it's one of those that they've really fully bought into him. They've gotten him in as staff, I think it was harsh enough that he got sacked out of Baltimore in the first place after what he'd done in there for 18 years. So I think he's a man on a mission to prove himself once again. And I think that's a dangerous place for any team to have to deal with him when he's coming in with that kind of an attitude, getting paid that kind of money and being allowed to put together everything he could possibly want. So I think that's a really good appointment. The third one for me was someone who should still be in charge of the Jets. If I had my way, I want to talk about Robert Saleh and the Titans. I think it's a great appointment. Brian Daboll going with him to be his offensive coordinator, well, it's another really good move. Like the two, it was Brian Daboll who kind of brought Josh Allen
Mm.
up uh, from the draft to make him what he is today. And Cam Ward had a really solid season last year, although they did finish with a really dismal record. But he was good in patches, and having someone like Brian Daboll now and Robert Saleh there as his head coach is really going to help him. He's one of the best leaders in the NFL. You could see it last year with the 49ers. Every time they got a player right, that all the players over him, they all loved him. It was the same at the Jets for a while as well when he was in there. He was really getting the defense going. Look how far the defense fell apart after he left as well. Just goes to show that he was really unfairly treated in New York. I think he's going to be a massive success here as a Tennessee
Yeah,
Titan head
I
coach.
like the Salah one. I kind of rated each of the hires with like ones that I think are really going to do well, and then ones that I'm not sure, and then ones I don't like. He was in the not sure just because of the way things ended with the Jets, and that he said he's going to be the play caller for the defense in Tennessee. That could work really well, like it did for like it does for McDonald with Seattle. I think first head coach to call plays on the defensive side of the ball and win a Super Bowl. So look, if that's the formula, then it will work. That's but it's just one of the question marks I have. But I agree with what you say about him being a great leader, and signing Dayball was brilliant because Dayball is a guy who I don't think is cut out for a head coach
Mm,
position unless he learns on his in-game management and the way that his players play without, he allowed way too many penalties, which was also an issue with Salah when he was at the Jets. The team had way too many penalties. There was no discipline. And Dayball is the same. So the two of them need to work on that together
mm.
and need to work on their game management decisions, maybe together. And I think two minds are better than one because they both have experienced that tough New York market, and now they're together. And Salah is obviously leading the team. So yeah, I like that one. The other one I had marked in green as definitely a good hire is Stefanski in Atlanta, but it's too much of a question mark to talk too much about that one
Yeah.
because yeah, they have a lot of talent, but we don't know what they have at quarterback. Penix looks too injury ridden. Cousins has walked away, but he might come back at a lower price, which I think would be smart. Because he worked with Stefanski before, and I think if he does come back and they have him for at least a season and maybe two, then Stefanski could do a really good job early on before they move into the next quarterback of the future. But I think Penix may be a write off. It might be a hot take, but I think he's too injury ridden, and also he didn't get picked by any of the people left in the organization apart from the owner, who probably didn't have much of a say in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Mm. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it on paper looks like a really, really good appointment. But I just said there's so many question marks around it that it's one of those, have to wait for the season to start and see how they start in the first 4 or 5 weeks and work it out from there then if it's good or not. And if they don't get Kirk Cousins back, then what are they going to do? Because you can't rely on Michael Penix. The Vikings going to have the same issue this year because you really cannot rely on JJ McCarthy to stay fit either. So there's a couple of teams who thought they had their franchise quarterback that are now looking back thinking, oh, we have made a bit of a mistake there. And I might say this every week for the rest of the season now, but Sam Darnold was there for all of these teams to look at and pick up. And that would have made their off season a lot easier heading into now than what a
Yeah,
lot
I
of the
think it's
teams are
something
heading
we'll
into
talk
instead.
about throughout the off season, but especially in free agency. But I was looking at the cap space that the Seahawks have, and it's crazy. And Darnold is one of the reasons behind that. And they have a lot of their players locked in, so they're scary for the future. But that's a topic for another day. I think that point about him being out there is massive, though. And
Yeah,
Cousins
just see,
is a guy that a lot of these teams
yeah,
should probably look at, including the Vikings.
yeah. And to see Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract today as well to give the
It's
Chiefs an extra
nuts.
45 million in cap space. So they're really looking
Yeah,
to push
could
and
be
come back for
a
next
thing that they
season as
want to go
well.
after Tyreek Hill because I don't think Yeah, after he gets cut,
Tyreek Hill,
after he got
yeah.
cut from the Dolphins, I don't think many other teams can take on his kind of diva mentality and stuff. But the Chiefs are obviously well able for that. They've had it before, and Mahomes is the leader there, as is Reed. So I think of all the teams in the league, they could probably handle it the best, and they could do with him the most. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I saw Chris Jones already calling for him to come back there. But yeah, interesting takes on some of the head coaches that went in. I Some I think are just not going to work are Todd Monken at the Browns. They're just going to tank, and he's just going to be blamed for it. And that's not his fault. He never really get a true chance, I don't think. Mike LaFleur with the Cardinals, while I do think he could be a decent offensive mind, like Sean McVay was calling the offensive plays there at the Rams. Now, a lot of guys who have worked under him have gone well, but the Cardinals are just such a joke, and their QB situation is awful as well. So I just can't see that going well. And I also think McCarthy with the Steelers, yeah, they might, if things don't start off well, they might just pull the ripcord and throw everything out the pram and tank as well. Finally, do a reset and trade some guys away, and he'll be the one that's the fall guy. So those are my three that I think are destined for failure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of teams in quarterback issues this summer. It might be something we might actually bring up next week. It just kind of clicked to me there. There's so many teams who have an issue with quarterback. But I agree. I think all those three you mentioned, they're all going into franchises that have issues with quarterback. I think that's going to be kind of the theme of the summer is who can sort out their quarterback situation first and then kind of build around that. It won't be the Browns. They have no idea what they're doing. Won't be the Cardinals because they still see the sun still shines through Kyler Murray somehow. And the Steelers, I don't know what they're going to do because Aaron Rodgers, I assume, is done finally. And if he comes back, then you also can't go into the season with him as your number one. So we'll have to wait and see where it all leads to. We might talk about that in more
Yeah,
detail
yeah,
next
good
week,
shout. I
actually.
think that would be an interesting one. And definitely around the Kyler Murray situation, because I don't see how this can stick with him. But yeah, it seems like they don't want him, but they do at the same time. So this is something to watch. And
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
true.
the
And two has
Cardinals
in that
also.
situation too. So yeah, a lot of QB chats to be had. Um, let's move into Gun Chance then. Whoa, before we do, just want to say, just got the notification there. There was rumors about it, but the Seahawks are officially for sale after just winning the Super Bowl. Pretty nuts. Someone is going to buy them up straight away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
17
that's
billion or
that's pretty
something.
mad that that's official right now. But Gone chance. Let's jump into that. Last week, bad week for me. I didn't get any right. I think the FA Cup was pretty tough. Didn't get any of them correct. You had one out of the three. So I had Leicester to beat Southampton. That didn't work out. You also had that. I had Brighton to beat Liverpool. That was not
Yeah.
close to happening. And I had Grimsby to beat Wolves, which did not work out despite the pitch being destroyed. Grimsby couldn't get it done against Wolves. Then you had Stoke to beat Fulham, a close one, but Fulham got the win at the end. And then the one winner was Wrexham to beat Ipswich. So you got that one in. That was at 12-5. So a nice pick there, Wrexham to grab that win. Do you want to throw out your three picks for this week? You're 23 points and I'm 25. So just two between us right now.
Yeah, so I've gone for two Premier League and one NBA this week. Obviously, now the NFL is finished, we'll be kind of chopping and changing between what we like. I've gone with the Pelicans at 15 and 41 to beat the Bucks, who were 23 and 30. This is a closer game on paper than sorry, this is closer than it looks on paper. I think the Pelicans could very easily turn them over with the way the Bucks are going as well. So I just fancy that. The other game I fancied was on the Friday, was on Thursday night into Friday, so no good for this. So I just had to leave that one out. In the Premier League, I'm backing myself. I'm backing Spurs at 5-1 to beat Arsenal, who are 8-15. And I'm backing Leeds at 7-2 to go and win at Villa Park, who are Villa are 5-6. I just think Villa at some point are going to start falling. They probably won't fall out of the top four, top five, but I just think they got away with the XG for too long. And it always comes back and levels out. So I think it's starting already, and I think it's going
Yeah,
to continue this weekend.
I am on the exact same wavelength as you with Villa. I think that we've been saying it kind of for a while that they are a team that have been just like denying XG constantly. And I think this could be one of those games where it might come back to bite them, where Leeds
Mm.
like defend deep and then they grab like a couple of set piece goals because they're very, very solid at set pieces. So I have also got Leeds in for myself. I've got them in to beat Villa, as you said, Saturday at 3 o'clock. Second one I've got is Wolves to beat Palace. Palace look like ridiculously bad against Burnley. They look like anybody could beat them. Wolves have not been horrible. I know they're dead last, so it's funny to say that, but they've had a couple of good performances this season. And if they, I don't know how it's going to go against Arsenal, but if they manage to get a win against Villa or against Palace, that'll be another massive loss for Palace, who have taken something like 6 points from their last 10 or something like that. They just look really, really bad. So
Yeah,
that's
they're
Sunday
done
at
bad.
2. Wolves are 19-4 and Palace are 4-7. And then my last one is Sunday at 6 p.m. in the NBA. The Cavs are playing OKC. Cavs 34-21, OKC 42-14. I think this would be a statement for the Cavs. I kind of alluded to it last week how I think quite highly of them right now. They seem to be a team that was kind of not taking the regular season seriously, had a lot of injuries, and now they're just vaulting up. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with the 2 seed in the East. And I think OKC have injuries of their own right now, and this would be a big statement for the Cavs to go to Oklahoma and grab that win. So that's my third pick. So those are my three. Out of interest, which was your one on Thursday night that you thought might come on?
It was the Celtics and the Warriors. The
Okay,
Warriors to beat the
yeah, yeah,
Celtics.
that's a nice pick. Yeah, I was looking at one. I was looking at the Hornets to beat the Rockets, and then it was like on Thursday night. So I was like, no, can't do that. And then I actually was
Yeah.
interested in the Hornets to beat the Cavs, the next night, but it's on a back to back, which is tough. So I pivoted. But yeah, those are my three and Shane's three. So those are our Gun Chance picks for this weekend. Okay, so our bi-weekly segment with Michael, he's back again. We had a special podcast, an extra one on the NBA trade deadline, just myself and Michael a couple of weeks back. So if you haven't listened to that, some good stuff in there. But he's back now for his usual bi-weekly segment. He's brought the topics. Mike, how are you?
I'm pretty good. It was great being on talking about the NBA trade deadline. Felt like we got even more drama after
Mm.
All Star break, but we'll get into it.
Yeah, yeah. So much stuff happening right now. So you've got like usually we get like one big topic or like a couple of ones we can split up, but this time there's kind of like three smaller ones that you've thrown together. So if you want to start, what is our first topic that we're going to be chatting about?
Yeah. So as I said, I mean NBA consistently showing us that it can be a full-on diva show. We've had headline after headline for the last week in the NBA. So we have to touch on the official event, the aftermath of the All Star weekend. Full of excitement. You know, I want to hear your guys' most memorable moment for the weekend. It can be good or bad, and then one change you guys are thinking of moving forward.
Hmm. Shane,
Yeah. So
what
for
are your
me,
thoughts?
the most memorable moment for me was the slam dunk contest becoming a layup contest because none of them were actually willing and able to go out there and throw anything down that was actually really, really decent. There was a load of just layup, just like the most basic slam dunks that if you give me 2 weeks on the basketball court, I might be able to pull off one or two of them. So, like that competition itself, we were talking about it before we went into it, that it is gone a bit stale. And like I never thought I'd say this, but Mac McClung was properly missed from this All Star or say from this slam dunk contest. The rest, it was just awful, awful start to finish, really. And not rolling out back Matt McClung like to do for Michael Bublé at Christmas is going to go down as one of the worst decisions they made in quite a while now. So that was my big takeaway was this slam dunk contest might be done. It might be cooked.
Yeah, I had like not as my most or best moment or most memorable thing to change was definitely the slam dunk contest. Like it's just pointless. Like Johnson won it probably because he danced after everyone he did and tried to fool
Yeah,
everyone into thinking that he did a good job. Um, and then you saw like was it Richardson that just smacked his head off the ground? Like
yeah,
Oh my
what on
god.
earth are we doing here at this point? These guys don't even know how to dunk and they're in it. Like McClung posted the three dunks he would have done, and they were all like way better than any of thing
outrageous.
we
Yeah,
saw. So my new proposal would be that it either becomes something that they get rid of and they do every like 3 years, where like actual stars go and do it every few years, and it's like a big thing, or you do it in a way where it's like focused on the team instead of like a single player. So you go next year, 3 teams from the West, 2 from the East are competing in it. There's 5 rounds. You can do a different player every round. You can do 2 players doing a thing together, whatever you want to do. But you do it, and the lowest score in each round goes out until you have your final 2. And then next year, the winner gets to stay on and be the extra team. So, say a West team wins, they get to stay on, and then we have 2 new West teams and 2 new East teams come in. And we just do that every year. So, you have to win if you want to stay on, or else you might not get to get in it again for like 5 years. So that was just an idea I had because it's really stale, so it needs something a bit juicy like that, I think, to get it going.
Yeah, I actually have that written down as well. Some of my points is just Mac McClung should have won the dunk contest. Seeing his dunks like on Instagram, they're already better than everyone else. Love the Jackson Hayes fast break dunk. Don't know if I want to see it on All Star break, but I find it interesting you guys have that. I feel like for me, the most memorable moment, it just had to be Wemby. Wemby in the All Star break. Like, as soon as he touched the court, yam on someone else, and then just showing he's too good for anybody to be playing half effort around him. Like, he's just sending the ball into the fourth row of the stands. You have to actually play around him if he's locked in. And I thought it was great. I actually enjoyed All Star Break a lot more than I thought I was going to this year. I mean, the only thing that I really didn't like was the dunk contest, obviously. Like, even the skills contest. The skills contest was okay. It was kind of fun. Drewski was there. Rick Brunson was there. Like, it was fine. I didn't really care for it. I would have preferred a one-on-one contest.
Yeah, like in the WNBA, that is sick when they do the one-on-one. Like, if the NBA players had the bottle to go one-on-one against someone and not be worried about getting shown up, that would be really good.
Yeah.
And that's my change as well, is just take out the skills contest, throw in a one-on-one contest, and let's just see people go at him. Even if, like, I don't even care about seeing the top 30 players in the NBA go at each other. Give me the 2 10th string players from like 2 random teams. Let me see these guys go at each other. It'll just be entertaining in and of itself.
If we just got those 2 brothers,
I agree with that.
Pat, just get the 2 brothers to do it for half an hour where they play against each other. That would just see.
Spencer.
Yeah, that would be far more entertaining than anything
sick.
else we saw. That would be unbelievable. Just show the 2 of them out and say, go, there's no rules. Just play like you were playing when you were kids, when you were out in the front yard. Just go and do that there for 15 minutes and we'll see how you get on. That would be so much better than that slam dunk layup contest that we were forced to watch instead. Like, it's, yeah, the slam dunk contest is done. It is time to either change it up or get rid. And like, if they did shelve it for 2 years and came back with a brilliant idea, nobody would be complaining. But putting it out again like this again next year, to me, it makes absolutely no sense. I don't know how anyone enjoyed it, unless you enjoy seeing a fella hit his head off the rim and then off the floor. It was kind of funny, but like, it's just mental that he like that's what he came up with. Outrageous. It was just so bad.
He could have been like he could
Badly
have got
injured.
seriously injured.
Yeah.
Like, just ridiculous that he's in that situation. But yeah, that was my thing to change. But in terms of best moment, I think you're fairly spot on with Wemby at least bringing the juice, and I think that led to Anthony Edwards bringing it, which leads then into my best moment. And that was just seeing like actually young possible stars of the Sixers doing something on All-Star weekend. Like, Tyrese was part of that winning team. He had a nice like blow by layup. I think it was KD that was there, and then straight away he got the steal and hit a 3, and they had to call a timeout. And it doesn't matter. It's All-Star weekend, but it's just pretty cool to see a player on your team doing that. And then VJ won the MVP. I'm on the Rising Stars game too, so I think those were positives for Sixers fans. But yeah, that's my kind of best moment, I guess. Did you have any like highlight moment, Shane?
The highlight moment, I honestly thought when Edwards was named MVP, his reaction was absolutely hilarious. He did not see it coming at all, and then his interview after was so Anthony Edwards. It's just the most Anthony Edwards thing of all time. I think he's such a good character, and if he goes on to become what we all think he'll become, he'll be the face of that league more so than SGA or any of the rest of them, because he clearly has the personality for it and the talent to do this. I know his off court stuff isn't great either, but everyone kind of seems to brush past it because he seems so sound. But I just thought his interview and his reaction to getting MVP was absolutely brilliant. I thought Wemby, even though he didn't win, he was probably MVP of the night for the stuff he was doing in that game. He was absolutely incredible, as you've all said. And Kawhi Leonard really showed up as well for a change. So, but I just thought Anthony Edwards was he's just a shining light for the NBA at the moment.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, the interview. He just names all the greats as if he's like paying homage to them, and then he's like, yeah, so it was fun to give them belt. And then you're
Yeah,
on it, it's like, right, what do I even say at this point?
yeah.
But Mike, what's your next topic that you've got for us? This one's a bit of a mad one.
Yeah, this next topic, I had to bring it up with our resident Rockets fan right here. The KD files.
Allegedly.
I wasn't sure if this was going to be a main topic, but as the weekend went on, it felt like there was more and more screenshots being released over and over again. At first, I wasn't convinced either, but I'm almost 100% now. I saw a screenshot of that person saying, "Whoever leaked the group chat, your mom's a hoe." I don't know if I can say that or if that's going to get bleeped, but like,
We'll leave it.
what's the outcome of this? I mean, we're talking about from talking badly about Sengun, Steve Kerr, Draymond, to calling Russ a triple-double cocaine bear and saying that Jabari Smith is developmentally challenged. How do you expect this? Do you expect a KD trade at the end of the year? Is this it? Is there any way back from this? Shane, lead us off, please.
It's like, if it is him, you're 37 years old. Go and talk to these people in person. Like, why have you made a burner account with a group chat on Twitter? Like, someone is always going to find it comes out. It always comes out. No one has ever gotten away with talking rubbish in the background and just expect to get away with this. See, Barry Smith did put out an Instagram post the other day of himself and KD laughing. So maybe it's not that serious on the inside as it is looking in, or maybe they don't think it's him. But like, I don't get it. It's like, there's been a lot of issues this year with the Rockets, and it's not all just down to them not having guards. There's a lot of like last shots are being thrown around left, right, and centre. Nobody seems to want to take them at times. KD knocked down one. Sure, we had that game won. Like, the game was over. He was throwing it down just for fun. Anytime we're down by one and need a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer, KD is nowhere to be seen, or he'll throw it up and miss it or anything. So there is a lot of issues in the Rockets team. They're winning games in spite of him, not with him. I know he's putting up a lot of points and fair play to him, but there does seem to be a big kind of like, this trade hasn't worked. And I think you said in the summer, James, that everywhere he goes, he kind of brings this kind of glare with him, where it's like, if I'm not the main man, then no one else is going to be either. So, oh, you want to give it to Shingun? No, I'm just going to go talk behind his back. Jabari Smith has a couple of bad games, a couple of good games. He's developmentally challenged. Like, this is the man you brought in to kind of lead this franchise to a chip. Sorry, a ring. Where'd I get a chip from? This is the man you brought in to like lead them all the way. This is the one you were like, you've done it. This is such a young core, clearly a really, really talented group. And if this is the example you're setting, then so like, I don't see the point of it. You might as well just pack it in at the end of the season, and like, it's a fail. Obviously, if it does go at the end of the season, and it's a bad fail for what you gave up as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'd be much happier with Dylan Brooks at the moment. Maybe not the other fella, Jalen Green, but definitely I'd like to have Dylan Brooks back. But we just have to wait and have to ride it out to the end of the season and see how it goes. I just think it's madness. 37
Yeah.
years old.
Well,
I really want to stress that. Like,
on the Dylan Brooks point, I think it's actually a good point, because you look at, apparently, like, he brings a good culture, and
yeah,
he left Memphis and it was just like a disaster. He did well at the Rockets. Look at the Suns now. You know, clearly he does bring a good culture, and KD might be doing the opposite now. As we've said throughout this, none of this is confirmed or been investigated or anything like that as of this point, but you would definitely like be well within your rights to think that this is very, very possible, because if you read through the group chats that this burner account was in, some of the information in there is stuff that only KD would be privy to, unless the timelines are all messed up. But it doesn't look like that's the case, because there's a lot of screenshots as well going to people replying to that account and saying, like, this is KD, like, I know you're KD, this is his burner, and then those tweets that they're replying to are deleted.
yeah.
So it's like, at times, that he almost responded as himself when he knew people knew, and then deleted them. Now, all of this is obviously allegations and it's not fact, but like, you know, to be putting that together and for people to be able to read that, you know, there is going to be players on the Rockets team, whether if it's all of them or even just one, someone is also going to be of that opinion and putting that together and going, hold on a minute, like this can't be all untrue. And the look of fear in that man's face at the All-Star weekend when he was on his phone, like he looked like he had seen a ghost, and we've never seen him like that before. So I think, judging by him, the way he speaks online, and the fact that it seemed like he knew a lot of information and spoke about so many players that he had played with, you know, to be already doing that about Rockets players. And like you said, Shane, like taking that last shot. I brought it up already on this podcast that there's a couple of times where Şengün took the last shot and KD is visually seen
Yeah.
like throwing his arms and stuff, and then the next game KD will have the last shot and he misses it, but you don't see that from Şengün. So it's like it's not a thing a good teammate would do. And funnily enough, some of the tweets and replies were about like Şengün taking last shots too. So it all kind of plays together quite well. I just think if he is doing this, yeah, it's not one bit surprising because of the way he's been throughout his time in the league.
But the way he speaks online, anyway, off his normal account, is mad. He'd be like, there's a thing on Twitter where it's just like all tweets about the Rockets. It's called Rockets Twitter. It just goes up as one of the feeds at the top. And he'd be replying to lads on that, just like cursing them out and calling them this, that, and everything because they've said something he doesn't agree with. Or they'd be like, oh, we really need Fred VanVleet back. And he'd be like, he'll be back when he's back. What's the effing rush and stuff like that. And you're just like, well, no one said there was a rush. He was literally just making the point. We're losing here to the Jazz. He's saying that Fred VanVleet would make a difference. And you're coming on after the game. The first thing you're doing is getting on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to go find Shane Fleming and write back to that comment he said about Fred VanVleet. Like, again, you're 37 years old. Like, it's just you're a multi-millionaire. Why to let these things affect you so much online? Just go and play your basketball and win the ring, which you were brought over here. You've been paid very handsomely to come over here and try to bring this young team towards winning the championship. And if anything, I think they look worse this year than they did last year. They probably won't win as many games this year as they did last year either. So in that sense, this trade hasn't worked one bit. And not going for someone on the trade deadline like Kobe White is I don't know if I'm ever going to get over it with how cheap he went then as well. Like, so I don't know. There's a lot going on in the Rockets organization that needs sorting, and that one now has just jumped to the very, very top of that Excel sheet for Raphael Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the Rockets are definitely in a very weird situation. Like, some context, like KD got outed for having burners a decade ago.
Yeah.
We're talking about this in 2013. So he clearly has not learned anything about this situation. And like, even the situation where they're at now, I spent a lot of time on r/NBA on the Reddit, right? There's a lot of Rockets fans saying, give me Dylan Brooks and give me a backup point guard, because those are two things that I would prefer right now over KD, because they seem convinced that it's him.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you don't like Jalen Green that much, you guys didn't even like the Bulls, from all reports, were desperate to let go of one of these guards. They were looking for anything. And I mean, they were just over there collecting second round picks anyway. So, I mean, just chuck them another 2 and get Colin Sexton or whichever 1-year rental. I mean, even to this day, Lonzo Ball hasn't been picked up. Now, whether or not he wants to be bought is to be seen. But I feel like you guys are kind of stuck because you're saying this year we're going to see how it is and we'll decide at the end of the year. And I feel like if you're not proactively trying to get better the whole way through, you're getting
What's
worse.
the point? Yeah, exactly. 100%. Like, when you look at what the Spurs have done this year with the core they've put together, they've jumped from, did they make the playoffs last year? I don't think they did. I think they just missed out on the playoffs last year. And
Yeah,
now,
I think so, yeah.
And now they're comfortably at least they're at least the third, if not the second best team in the league now, behind the Thunder and the Pistons. Like, that's the kind of thing that the Rockets were expecting to happen when KD came in. It's like, oh, we won X amount of games last year. Let's go win 55 or 60 this year. And they've gone the other way. Like, they've already lost 20 games. Like, it's just not what I was expecting coming into the season at all. I thought they would lose upwards of 20 or 25. but we still have a third of the season to go. It's very easy they could tag another 10 losses onto that, and where does that put you then? So we'll
Yeah,
have to wait and see. I'm extremely disappointed with how it's gone, and this is kind of just the nail in the coffin for me. Is like, this is what has been going on the inside. This is why they're losing to the Jazz and the Kings and stuff like that. The games you should not be losing if you do think you can win a championship.
yeah. I think another point on missing out on point guards is Jeremy Sohan. I think was a good option that either the Rockets or the Sixers should have went after, and now he's on the Knicks. Like that was somebody who was out there as well as Ball. So I think that's another option. But yeah, overall disappointing considering where you thought the season would start. Now it's not over yet, but it's, as you said, it's not really looking good. Let's fire through this third topic. Quick fire, Mike. What have you got for us on this last one?
Yeah, Shane mentioned it when he mentioned the Jazz, but the tanking fiasco, very topical conversation right now, especially with Adam Silver fining the Jazz $500,000
Hmm.
and the Pacers $100,000 for sitting their top stars in the fourth quarter of a couple games. A lot of fans are notable pointing out the Wizards rosters and other games from lower seeded teams and the hypocrisy of those teams not getting fined, whereas these ones are. What do you guys think? Do you think the tanking issue has gone too far? Do you think, look, we'll just leave it, we'll see how it goes, we'll see how the draft lottery goes, or do you think that the NBA and Adam Silver kind of have to step in and be a bit more proactive with investigations and player availability and tanking attempts and such?
Yeah, I think they probably do need to do something. I think the 500K on the Jazz was warranted, and they could get worse than that because they're just like, it's not within the integrity of the league the way they're doing it because they're pulling out all their stars in the fourth quarter when they're perfectly fine and they're playing well, and they're losing games then because of it. Now I know they won the Heat game by some kind of miracle, but they lost that Magic game when they should have won it,
Cost
which
me a
then
5 pointer on Gun
yeah,
Chance.
and in turn, it can cost teams like seeding. A lot of things are at stake here, especially when the league is so involved with gambling as well. It's not, this kind of stuff that the league doesn't want that for those reasons too. But in terms of the draft lottery, I don't know what way they're going to do it. They can't go about it in like a free agency kind of way with rookies. I don't think that would ever work because they just end up on the big market teams or the teams that can push, and then the other teams would get even further ostracized. So maybe it could be a way that they go back to the worst seed gets the first pick, and if it's a tiebreaker, reduced strength of schedule like the NFL, and then if you had a pick in the top five next year, even if you're the worst team again, you can't have another pick in the top five yet. You get pushed straight to six, and then again, if you're in the top 10, the next year you get pushed to 11 or something like that, where it basically is like you need to improve. You can't just keep losing. If you are bad, you'll still get another pick, but it won't be the first pick again because we need to spread those out. Because in the NBA, it's just a joke at this point. And I think the Pacers getting a fine is a bit of a joke because they're one of the teams that fights the hardest no matter what. Even though they are tanking, they still play as hard as they can in a lot of games, whereas the Jazz do not. And I think the Wizards, they probably don't deserve it either because AD and Trey were injured before they got there. They were bad before those guys came, and they traded away actual players for them too. So I don't think that's really a factor. But I think the Jazz, they're lucky to only get 500K. I think they could get worse because they're really messing with the integrity of the league.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Pacers is the Pacers are just crap. Like they're not going out here purposely trying to lose every game every single week. As you said, they're going out there. They're actually playing. They're without their absolute superstar who led them to the title last year, or sorry, led them to the finals last year. They're just a really, really bad basketball team. It happens. But the Jazz have gone and made a lot of moves, and now they're like, oh, we're all just going to pull you all out and sit you for the fourth quarter, and we lose by four instead of starting everyone, starting you on the bench and losing by 50. What they were doing wasn't smart. Didn't look good. Like, you'd be better off putting out a team and saying, oh, our top five guys are injured. We just have to roll with the G League squad here for the rest of the year instead of going out and putting them out there for 3 quarters and sitting them. Just nonsense. And I agree. I don't think the Wizards deserve fine either. I think what they're trying to do is, sorry, what they were trying to do was build for next year. So they have brought in a lot of players who are injured, but that's will stand them in good stead for next year. So while this year is probably going to be a complete write-off. It already is a complete write-off. If they get fined 500,000 because they're sitting two injured players, then that's on the NBA to sort it out as well. I also like your idea of bringing it back to the lowest seed gets the one pick. But my fear with that would be everyone trying to be the lowest seed then as well. So it could lead to even worse thinking. Whereas, like at the moment, the top three teams get a 14% chance each. So you don't have to finish bottom to have a hope of getting the first seed. But if the first seed is going to the worst team, we'll have teams going out and finishing the season with like 8-80 records or something like that. Sorry, 2-80 records. So I don't know what the middle ground is, but they really need to find it and they need to do it soon because this tanking, and I know they do it in the NBA, in the NFL as well. It almost feels like a staple of American sports at this year, at this stage, that there's at least one team tanking to try and get the best player coming through. But something needs to be done about it because it's not good for the league. And as you said, there's so much betting in it. There's so much at play for the top 10 as well, where like when you look at how close between 9 and 13 are on both sides, all you have to do is play the Jazz, you're guaranteed to win, and it kind of shoots you up there into the play in or the playoff situation as well. So it's not just about them being down there; they're affecting the integrity of the whole league if they keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Sorry,
100%.
sorry, I went on for ages there.
No,
No,
good points made. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts on it?
I think the biggest thing for me, and James, you know this as a Sixers fan, we had our GM fired for this.
Yeah.
Like what Danny Ainge is doing in the Jazz is worse than what the Sixers were doing. We had the process and we were tanking for that, but the teams were bad. Like it's not that we had Lowry Markkinen on the team for the last 3 or 4 years and are proceeding to do nothing, tease him on the trade deadline every single year, pretending that you're going to do something. Continue tanking until you get Keontae George and Walker Kessler and the reanimated corpse of Yusuf Nurkic, who wants to drop double doubles now after 3 years, and you decide like, oh, now we're a decent team, but this next draft class is so good that we're going to sit like 4 of these players in the fourth quarter, and the NBA office is going to come out and just be like, oh, here's $500,000 fine. Like this is not sitting Luka at the end of that 2022-23 season. This is prolonged over a couple of years, and the Sixers got absolutely screwed for it. So, I mean,
Well,
the fact that this is even sliding past is absolutely ridiculous.
Mm.
yeah, I think that should be harsher, definitely. And taking picks off people, that would be what would actually stop it. But I know we are Sixers fans and we'll say like we did get done badly for that. But at the same time, we were intentionally signing the worst possible players. We were not signing good players on purpose. If there was a good player available, we would go, oh, you can't play, you don't know how to play. Like although none of those guys played in the NBA the next season. So we were like on a dangerous road there. But I agree that at least we didn't have someone good at our disposal that we weren't playing. We just didn't have anyone good, but that was on purpose. We literally signed bad players.
Yeah, like if we had, for example, Embiid, when we drafted Embiid, he was injured for the first year. Imagine he wasn't injured. And we were just like, oh, yeah, he's going to play 10 games this season. And then we sit him for the rest. And then we'll play him like another 22 games next season. We'll sit him for the rest. Like, it would just be, there would be fury around the league at anybody else. But I feel like Danny Ainge gets thought as this genius, and this has been his plan that he's been concocting in Utah for the last couple of years. Hell no, man. This guy got lucked into everything and is now trying to reap even more rewards off the end of it. On top of that, just to finish it off, NBA insiders reporting over the last 24 hours that the only reason those two teams were fined was as a result of gambling companies pressuring Adam Silver
Not
because of
surprising.
losses on returns. So like this whole thing seems like such a joke, honestly. Mark Cuban has come out and said there should be like pay scales depending on your pick and that college should turn into free agency. I don't know. I think you're on the money, James. I think letting teams have the higher picks and then restricting the amount of times they can get a top 4 or a top 8 pick is probably the way to go. Will Silver do it? Probably not.
No, he's
We,
not David
we
Stern.
yeah, we wouldn't have that Spurs team either if they did that, because how lucky they got in all those draft lotteries to end up what they've ended up with is a bit mad as well. But I digress. That's for another show.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thanks again, Michael, for coming on. We appreciate it. We will have you back in 2 weeks with, I'm sure, more pressing topics that spark a lot of debate. So, nice one, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys.
All right, so let's wrap up with the power rankings. I'll go first here. Last week I had the Seahawks, Pistons, Cavs, Arsenal, United, and the Knicks. So while the Seahawks have won the Super Bowl, and they're obviously the most powerful team in the NFL, but it's time to pivot now to just Premier League and NBA. So I've got 3 for each. That's how we're going to do it for the rest of the season. I've moved Pistons into number 1. Obviously the NBA hasn't been played since we last recorded, so there's not much reason to change anything. But I've got the Pistons in here first. They move up from second. The Cavs move up from third to second then, so they're number 2. Third then is Arsenal. They move up a spot. Man United then move up a spot as well. So all I've done at first is just shift those 4 up after dropping out the Seahawks. And then my last 2, I know the Knicks haven't played, but I just really thought the Hornets deserve to be in here. You picked them last week, and I should have picked them too. So I put them in instead of the Knicks. They're 5th. And then Man City are in 6th. I was between them and Chelsea, but City just look really solid and they might be pushing on a title charge. So I'm going to put them in 6th for now. So Pistons, Cavs, Arsenal, United, Hornets, and Man City.
Nice, yeah. So I've done the same as you with my top 2. So I've taken out the Seahawks from last week and moved the Pistons and Hornets up to 1 and 2. I've a new entry at 3. I brought in Chelsea. They just look their team on really good form. I think they've 4 wins in a row now. To be honest, I didn't. I was going to put in City, and I kind of pivoted at the last second and put in Chelsea instead, because I've had City in there on and off, and every time I put them in, they let me down, and I want them to win the league. So if I don't put them in, then they might become good again and keep winning games. So I put Chelsea in there at third instead. The Spurs have moved up to 4th for me. They were 5th last week. United are up to 5th from 6th last week, and I've dropped Arsenal to 6th because I don't like them. They drew up Brentford and they're about to draw at Wolves, so they're lucky that they're still in there. So I have the Pistons, the Hornets, Chelsea, the San Antonio Spurs, not to be confused with the bad one in the Premier League, Manchester United,
Nice,
and
nice.
Arsenal.
Pretty similar on some there, and I think Chelsea are definitely worth thrown in at least in one. Like as I said, I kind of consider them, and they are 4 wins and a draw in their last 5 in the Premier League. So same as United. They drew their last, but 4 wins before that. So yeah, that's another episode wrapped. Plenty covered as usual. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next week again. Shane, I'll throw it to you to wrap it up.
Cheers, lads. Just keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep doing what we're doing, and we'll see you next week to talk
Nice
about
one, lads. See you then.
quarterbacks. Welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball with Shane and James.